All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Kabbalah Café. This is our weekly journey into all things mystical. So today, we're going to continue a theme that we've been focusing on over the last little while, which is the value of the soul's descent into a body and really the purpose of all existence, which is, I think, kind of important because if there's one question everybody wants to know, it's why are we here? It's the most questioned question amongst the existential questions. Literally, you cannot get more existential than that. Why are we here? And it's not the question of how did we get here on a technical level, but rather it's more of like, why are we here? For what purpose are we here? Which will then guide our lives, hopefully as we live them. So Kabbalah has definitely has a lot to say about this, as you know. And today the way we're going to do this is we're going to explore a piece of Talmud. The Talmudic piece that we're going to explore comes from Tractate Shabbat, page 88b. And the way we're going to do this is I'm going to read, let's see if I can find this. I'm going to read the section of Talmud and do some translation. Okay, actually, maybe I'll read it in English altogether. Okay, hold on. Rabbi Shubin Levi said, again, this is the Talmud. Hey, Oded, welcome. Good to see you.
Boker Tov.
Boker Tov. Boker. All right. So this is from the Talmud Tractate Shabbat, page 88b into 89a. And you know what's fascinating? What's fascinating to me is, gosh, is there a lot of information in the Talmud? It's like the more you think you know, the more you realize, wow, there's more in here. So here we go. I'm going to read this. And it took me a while to get the internet server back up and running here this morning, so wasn't able to print. But you'll take my word for it. Rabbi Shubin Levi said, when Moses ascended on high to receive the Torah, hold on, I can actually share it online. So I could do this. Okay. Rabbi Shubin Levi said, when Moses ascended on high to receive the Torah, the ministering angel said before the Holy One, blessed be He, Master of the universe, Ma li yilud isha benenu. What is one born of a woman doing here amongst us?
Amen.
Right? In other words, what is this creature of flesh and blood, this mortal creature, doing here in heaven?
Have like a human alert.
Human alert, right. It's like Monsters, Inc. or something. Wasn't there something like that? There's like, right, you can imagine all the, like the red lights, everything's going up, like human alert. There's been a breach of heaven. Oh my gosh, someone needs to do this. This would be amazing. Okay, so they scare because they care. So, what is this human doing here? The angels are freaking out and they ask God, what is happening? So here's what happens. So the Talmud continues. The Holy One, blessed be He, said to them, He, meaning Moses, came to receive the Torah. The angel said before him, before God, the Torah is a hidden treasure that was concealed by you 974 generations before the creation of the world. Now that's a very precise number, but that's what the angel said. 974 generations before creation. Now I know what you're thinking. Before creation, was there even the concept of time and or generations? I don't know. That's a good question. But nonetheless, the angel is saying, this Torah that preceded creation, right? It's unbelievably holy. And you seek to give it to flesh and blood. So the angels are challenging God. Okay? As it is stated. And by the way, just so you know, and I know you guys don't have this here, but like, the bold text is the original Talmudic text. The unbolded text is kind of like the slight commentary to make it flow. So the flow piece continues, as it is stated, the word which He commanded to 1,000 generations, meaning the Torah was commanded to 1,000 generations. Since the Torah, the word of God, was given to the 26th generation after Adam, the first man, The remaining 974 generations must have preceded the creation of the world. Well, that answers the question. Why 974? Because it says the Torah is 1,000 generations old, but it was only 26 generations into humankind when it was given. So how do you get from 1,000 to 26? Well, 26 minus 1,000 minus 26. It's 974 generations before the world was created, and then 26 from Adam to Moses. Boom, that's your 1,000 generations, and that's what the angels are saying. Torah precedes creation, precedes mankind, and you want to give it to flesh and blood? And then the angels quote a verse from Psalms, not that Psalms was written yet, but they articulated a verse that would later be penned by King David in Psalms. By the way, just so you know, a lot of what King David wrote in Psalms is coming from older, other texts, earlier texts. Livnei Korach Mizmar Shir, a song of the sons of Korach. King David wrote Psalms, but a lot of it he gathered from prior, writings, poems, songs, prayers, etc.
Was his mother a songwriter as well?
I don't know. You're saying were they a duo, like just singing on stage and that sort of thing?
There's a lot of mystery behind David's mother.
King David has one day I'm going to do a class on King David, because exactly what you're saying about the mystery about his parents is actually unbelievable. It's an unbelievable story. There's halachic conversation about it, but one day we'll do that. One day we'll do that. You know, I had so many ideas for some reason over this past Shabbat, yesterday. I had probably like 4 or 5 ideas for like events, classes, like new things. And I need to write everything down. I'm going to add that to the list as well. So as it is stated, oh no, we already did that. Oh, and then the angels said a verse, or said something that would later be penned in Psalms. Ma enosh ki siskerenu uven adam ki sifkedenu. What is man that you are mindful of him, and the son of man that you think of him? In other words, what makes man, human being, so important? Why are you mindful of him? Why are you thinking of him? Mortal man? It's garnished, nothing, right? Stop paying so much attention to mortal men. Rather, said the angels, God our Lord, how glorious is your name in all the earth, that your majesty is placed upon the heavens. Leave your majesty in the heavens. Leave Torah up in heaven. The rightful place of God's majesty, the Torah, is in the heavens, concludes the claim of the angels. So now, yeah.
I have a bunch of questions on that.
Sure.
The angels were studying Torah at the time that they are talking about the Torah? Like they don't know the concept of Torah.
It's a good question.
And then when were the angels created? I mean, like in the span of, we know when, we count where, creation happened, but angels already existed at the time. And if they were not created during that time, what's their take on?
Let me repeat your questions.
And there's a bunch of angels that are actually our spiritual entities. So weren't they sticking up for us as well?
Okay, good. So we have 3 questions. We're crowdsourcing some questions. So question number 1 is, how did the angels know about Torah? Were they studying Torah? What's going on with that whole thing? So to address that question, it seems like, Torah definitely has a spiritual side to it. In fact, there's famously, the Ramban, Nachmanides famously says, Torah medaberet al tachtonim, bromezet al halyonim. Torah speaks down here and alludes to the spiritual concepts, to which other Mukubalim, the Ramban was actually a Mukubal, it was a Kabbalist. Other Kabbalists say, no, the opposite. Torah medaberet al halyonim, Torah really speaks above, umiramezet, and only hints al tachtonim, on the lower realms, which means that the primary space of Torah conversation, hey Ramon, good morning. The primary space of Torah conversation is actually above, not below. So it seems like there's a parallel conversation that's happening in heaven, as it were, in the spiritual realms, where Torah is being studied in a completely spiritual fashion. And so this is the claim of the angels, is leave Torah here. Now we're going to get into this in much more depth. That's a very short answer, but this very question I'm going to elaborate, and we'll unfold. Your next question was, when were angels created? It seems like, based on midrashic text, that angels actually preceded the creation of what we know as corporeal creation. Meaning, before this creation, it seems like God consulted with the angels. In fact, when the Torah says that God said, "Na'aseh Adam b'tzalmenu k'dmusenu," let us create man in our image and our likeness. Who is the us? So some say it's the royal we. There's no us. It's just God saying, "Let us." Maybe you wanted a salad. Let us. I'm kidding. Or alternatively, one answer is that God consulted with the angels, which means that there were angels even before there were human beings. As far as how far back do the angels go, I don't know, but they definitely go back, before. And ask the other question, like, what about the angels that are guardian angels or even created by human beings to stand up for human beings? It seems like that might be the angels that we created around us on earth. But remember, Moses is now in heaven. So now he's in the realm of like the OG angels. And now they're all ganging up on him and saying, God, what's this dude? What's this foreigner over here? Who let this guy into the bar? And so that's kind of where we're at. So let's see what God responds. So they first, remember, let's just chart this. They first turn their complaints toward God, and God replies the following. The Holy One, blessed be he, said to Moses, provide them with an answer as to why the Torah should be given to people. So God says to Moses, hey, why don't you answer them? Okay, Moses said before him, Master of the universe, I am afraid lest they burn me with the breath of their mouths. In other words, what? I'm going to talk back to an angel? This does not seem like a very wise, hi David, good to see you. This does not seem like a very wise strategy. Hey Tony, welcome. Hey Shana, welcome. Yeah, exactly. So God said, look what God says, grasp my throne of glory, the kisei hakavod, for strength and protection, and provide them with an answer. In other words, hold on, you'll be fine, and go. And where is this derived? As it is stated in Eov and Job, and he causes him to grasp the front of the throne and spreads his cloud over it. Rabbi Nachum said, this verse teaches us that God spread his radiance, the radiance of his presence and his cloud over Moses, which indicates that when he held on to the throne of glory, to the throne of glory, there was also the cloud, which is a euphemism for protection. Today, cloud is a euphemism for data, remote data centers or whatever it is. By the way, just in case anyone's wondering, there is no cloud. There is no actual, well, hold on. There are actual clouds, but there is no data cloud. It's on a computer somewhere. It's just that you can access it remotely. Not actually a cloud. It's not actually existing in the atmosphere. All right, back in. That was just a PSA. By the way, I feel very qualified to speak about this. I'm not qualified to speak about this, but I feel very qualified to speak about this because, as I've already stated, I think once or twice this morning, I am very proud. I restarted the server over here to get this whole internet thing and the Zoom up and running. It took me a while. It's locked down.
After an electricity break.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's never up. So, but like it's locked out. There's no power button. You have to know there's a grill in front of it. You have to know there's one space in the grill, and the grill has 1,000 different openings that has a secret power button behind it, where you have to use like an unfolded, what's it called again? Paperclip. So now that Leia's sister knows these things, I text her, I'm like, where's the power button? She's like, all right, let's do a video call. She's like, I don't know. I think it's somewhere over there. Anyway, she pointed me to the right quadrant, and then I was able to get it. All right. All of that to say, I'm glad that we're here, and we're glad we're connected online. Back into the text. So now Moses needs to answer. So here we go. Moses said before him. Interestingly enough, it says that Moses said before God. It's like he was almost addressing God, but like also addressing the angels. But he wasn't like dialoguing with the angels directly. Moses said before God, Master of the universe. These are rhetorical questions. The Torah that you are giving me, what is written in it? God said to him, maybe not so rhetorical, sorry, because God is actually answering. God said to him, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt from the house of bondage. Moses said to the angels, scratch all the rhetorical conversation. This is actually a three-way convo. So Moses then said to the angels, did you descend to Egypt? Were you enslaved to Pharaoh? Why should the Torah be yours? Remember, look at the 10 Commandments. I am the Lord your God who took you out of Egypt from the house of bondage. So Moses says to the angels, y'all were in Egypt? Y'all were enslaved? I don't think so. 1 point to Moses on the debate. Moses, again, Moses asked, what else is written in it? God said to him, you shall have no other gods before me. Moses said to the angels, do you dwell among the nations who worship idols that you require this special warning? In other words, the warning is only relevant in a culture of polytheism and paganism, where, it's challenging to be monotheistic. And so God says, be careful. And so Moses says to the angels, what's going on over here that you need that warning? Seriously. All right, next. Again, Moses asked God, what else is written in it, in the Torah? The Holy One, he said to him, remember the Sabbath day to sanctify it. Moses asked the angels, do you perform labor that you require rest from it? No, rest on the Sabbath. That implies that you worked the previous 6 days. Did y'all work? What do you need a day of rest for? Again, Moses asked, what else is written in it? Do not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, meaning it's prohibited to swear falsely. Moses asked the angels, do you conduct business with one another that may lead you to swear falsely? The swearing falsely is not like just randomly saying God. It's specifically taking it in a court case, taking an oath or making an oath, taking an oath, whatever the right expression is, that is false. But that's in litigation. These are the angels. Y'all in litigation? Sorry for going Southern this whole time, but I feel it easier at this point after all these years to say y'all. It's kind of crazy. It's happened. For all those that are wondering, it's happened. So he's like, it's easier. No, not easier. That was me. He's like, y'all aren't getting involved in litigation, although ironically they were literally in litigation here with Moses, but there weren't any oaths taking place. All right, next. Again, Moses asked, what else is written in it? The Holy One, blessed be, he said to him, and of course, these are the 10 Commandments, right? So it's more than that in Torah, but he stuck with the big 10. Moses, so God said, honor your father and your mother. All right, well, that should be an easy one. Moses asked the angels, do you have a father or mother that would render the commandment to honor them relevant to you? Again, Moses asked, what else is written in it? God said to him, you shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal. Moses asked the angels, is there jealousy among you? Is there an evil inclination within you that would render these commandments relevant? So the whole thing is not relevant. Immediately they agreed with the Holy One, blessed be he, that he made the right decision to give the Torah to human beings, to the Jewish people, as it is stated. And it's crazy. This Talmudic piece is being powered by 3 verses from Psalms 8, from the 8th Psalm. One that says, who is man that you're even, considering him? Like, why would you consider him? Why would you go out with this guy? Number 1. Number 2, place your glory upon the heavens. And number 3, here we go. God, our Lord, how glorious is your name in all the earth. Meaning that your name should be in all the earth, not just heaven. While that your majesty is placed above the heavens is not written, because the angels agreed with God that it is appropriate to give the Torah to the people on earth. So when the angels heard Moses' argument, they acquiesced. Let's continue. And this is actually phenomenal. Yeah.
So it seems like the angels didn't come really prepared for this debate.
I didn't even think about it.
I mean, when you think about it,
I'm just saying.
it happens in debate.
Happens in debate sometimes, right?
I mean, you come and you say such a strong argument to God, it's like, why is this man here? The Torah belongs here. Okay, what's your reasoning?
What's your basis?
Like you just hear Moses say, yeah, and you just roll over?
So let me just make sure everyone heard it. So Dad's question is, one second. It seems like the angels did not come prepared. They come into this, they make an accusation to God against Moses. What's he doing here to get the Torah? No way. This is crazy. It needs to be here. And then they roll over. They have no answer to Moses' claims. And it seems like I think you're saying this, but just to articulate it even maybe a half a step further, it seems like Moses' response to them is obvious. Like, what were they thinking? What were they thinking from the beginning? That they should have the Torah. Why? Honor your parents. They don't have parents. They didn't go down to Egypt. What are they? They don't have any Sahara. They don't have any inclination. Do not steal. Do not murder. Do not commit adultery. They don't have any of those temptations. What's going on here?
That's connected to the first question that I asked. Were they learning Torah over all those years that they knew what's in it?
Hold your question, because that was actually going to be my question. And we're going to explore this from an unbelievable place that combines both halakha as well as Kabbalah. So that's what we're going to do soon. But let's just round out the story. Immediately, each and every one of the angels became an admirer of Moses. They basically liked him on Instagram and passed something to him, some secrets, as it is stated in now Psalm 68, not 8. You ascended on high, you, Moses, ascended on high. You took a captive, you took gifts on account of man, and even among the rebellious also, that the Lord God might dwell there. The meaning of the verse, meaning you, Moses, you went to heaven, you got the spoils of war, as it were. You got some secrets that even the rebellious, even the sinners down here could use. Well, what does that mean? Here we go. The meaning of the verse is, in reward for the fact that they called you man, you are not an angel and the Torah is applicable to you. You took gifts from the angels. And it was because you're man and not angel, and Torah is for man and not angels. So therefore, you also got gifts from the angels. And even the angel of death gave him something. The angel of death, one of the angels, one of the God squad, is the angel of death. The angel of death gave Moses a gift. Listen to this. As Moses told Aaron how to stop the plague, if you recall, we're going to get to it in a few Torah portions, number 17, right? When there was a plague that broke out, Moses told Aaron how to stop the plague, as it says, as it is stated, and he placed the incense and he atoned for the people. This is after the rebellion of Korach, and God created while he swallowed the earth, and Korach and a few of his henchmen and other rabble-rousers. I have only in my life used the word rabble-rouser, I believe, in the context of Korach, because I probably read it in the context of Korach once upon a time, and that's it. So anyway, Korach and his fellow rabble-rousers were causing a problem, challenging the authority, the leadership of Moses and Aaron, and ultimately they were swallowed. Moses and his crew were swallowed into the earth, and other people were died in a plague. And then the people said, "You took." Oh, I'm sorry. It's a mistake. Korach and his crew were swallowed into the earth, etc. And then the people came to Moses and Aaron. They said, "You're killing God's people." And then another plague broke out. And then Aaron got involved. Moses told Aaron what to do, took incense pans, fire pans, went amongst the people and stopped the plague. And the verse says back inside, and he stood between the dead and the living, and the plague was stopped. If it were not that the angel of death told him this remedy, would he have known it? How did Moses know that incense, the kataret, would stop the plague and stop the angel of death in his tracks? Only the angel of death could have divulged his own kryptonite, or its own, I don't know if there's a gender for the angel of death, its own kryptonite. And thus, that is how Moses knew it. All right. Can we do one more? This is a little off topic, but I want to do it because it's fun. And Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi also said, when Moses descended from standing before the Holy and Blessed be He with the Torah, Satan came, Satan came, and said before Master of the universe, where is the Torah? He said, I don't see it. Where? Whoa, it was just here in heaven. What's going? He said to him, I've given it to the earth. He went to the earth and said to it, where is the Torah? It said to him, I do not know, as only God understands its ways and he knows its place. He went to the sea. This is all Satan, Satan. He went to the sea and asked the sea, where's the Torah? And the sea said to him, it's not with me. I didn't do it. He went to the depths, the Tahom. What's the depths? I don't know. He went to the depths and asked, where's the Torah? And the depths said to him, it is not within me. And where is it derived that the sea and the depths answered in this way, as it is stated in Job and Eov? The depths said, it's not within me, and the sea said, it's not with me. Okay. Destruction and death said, we heard a rumor of it with our ears. Satan returned and said before the Holy One, blessed be He, Master of the universe, I searched for the Torah throughout all the earth and did not find it. He said to him, go to Moses, son of Amram. Ooh. He just doxed him. You know that expression? Dox. He just doxed him. He just divulged, like Moses at 2444 Desert Way. Oh no, why would you say that? Why would you give his address? Oh my gosh, he had like Torah anonymity. All right, he went to Moses, did Satan, and said to him, the Torah that the Holy One Blessed be He gave you, where is it? Moses evaded the question. and said to him, and what am I that the Holy One, blessed be he, would give me the Torah? What? God would have given it to me? I mean, yes. I am unworthy. The Holy One, blessed be he, said to Moses, Moses, are you a fabricator? Sorry, that was bad timing with your drink. Is this modern Hebrew? Badai? Are you a fabricator? Are you a storyteller? Are you I mean, he didn't say liar, but are you a a non-true storyteller weaver? Like, what are you, fabricator?
Is your Galilee on fire?
Moses said before, Master of the universe, you have a hidden treasure in which you delight every day. That's the Torah. As it is stated, and I was his delight every day, playing before him at every moment. That's from Proverbs. It's like the Torah speaking. I am God's like delight. So Moses continues. So should I take credit for myself that you gave it to me? Like, Torah is there's nothing greater I know to you, God, there's nothing greater to you. There's no greater pleasure than your Torah. Should I be like, yeah, I got that? Like, that's arrogant. That's not cool. That's not a good look either. So the Holy One said to Moses, since you belittled yourself by saying, who am I that I could have received the Torah will be called by your name. As it is stated, remember the Torah of Moses, my servant. The Hebrew word is Zichru Torat Moshe Avdi. Remember the Torah of Moses. It's called the Torah of Moses, called by his name, to whom I commanded at Horeb, laws and statutes for all of Israel. So why is it called by his name? Because of his humility in saying, who am I? How am I worthy of it? Well, he was given it, or he was given to be the one to deliver it to us. And so his humility served him well. All right, so this is the story. That was the bonus Satan story, because I thought it was like too epic not to tell. By the way, there were more. I had to cut it somewhere. It keeps on going. The Talmud Shabbat, this is already 89A. By the way, if you ever want to study Talmud, just go to Sefaria.com. It's like the easiest thing. I mean, you could also buy books, but you could also download the Safari app. I mean, everyone's welcome to. Just literally type in Google, Shabbat, not even the word Talmud, Shabbat 88B. And everything that I read to you will just pop up. I mean, you'll have to click on Sefaria.org, whatever, to get that. But there you go. Now I want to ask a few questions. All right. Hey, Cedri. Good to see you. I hope you had a nice Chag. Oh, yeah. Okay, good. Good. Beautiful. I want to hear more about it.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
Okay, first of all, the angels. I thought God created man higher than the angels, and I thought the angels were like a manifestation of God's will.
Okay.
So they're different character traits. Like you have Michael, who is like God, Raphael, God's healing. All the different names of the angels are different character traits of God. And so that begs the question, what is Satan? Is that the character trait of God that punishes? So those are my questions.
Very good question. I think your first question, I don't know that I'll have a good answer for that. I think your first question is, if angels are a pure manifestation of divine energy, of godliness, etc., of godly light, and are created to be in a certain way, in a certain image, that would imply that they have no free choice, in which case, how are they even engaging in a dialogue if God wants to give the Torah below to humankind on earth? So then what are the angels saying? Wait, hold on.
It's like a setup. Like God wanted Moshe to give those answers. That's why they were...
Right. Maybe it's almost like that. It does seem to imply from this story and other stories that the angels do possess some sort of, self-awareness, i.e. ability to dialogue and argue for themselves. It does seem like that, although that does fly into the face of them being pure, transparent, divine energies. I don't really have a good way to answer that. But there is some tension in there, and I don't know. It certainly makes for interesting storytelling. That is for sure.
Doesn't Kabbalah also say that there's not quite a hierarchy, but there are several different types.
I think higher angels, lower angels.
Several different types.
So these might be the lower angels that already have their own agenda.
I also think, kind of going alongside what he was saying, when you're like, wow, this was a very easy debate to win. It's like, it's almost like it was a setup. Like,
right.
Like they couldn't have possibly just been that.
Right. So Ramon is saying that two things. Maybe they're higher and lower angels, and maybe it indeed was a setup to get those answers articulated, as you said, to get those ideas out there. It's interesting in Halakha, it says that a document that has been challenged in court and then vindicated is stronger than a document that's never been challenged, because it's gone through the process, it's faced fierce opposition, and you still validated it. At this point, no one can challenge it. It's already been through that process. Whereas an unchallenged document, we don't know if it was challenged, would it fall apart? would its validity be proven to be not valid, not kosher? So, in a sense, the very fact that there was a challenge and a triumph of humankind over the angels actually indicates that indeed this is the place. But all very interesting questions. As far as Satan, the Talmud says famously, Satan is the Yetzer Hara, is the Malach HaMavet, is the angel of death, is the evil inclination. It's all the same energy. It's all the same. David, good to see you. Lots of blessings. All right, so it's all the same energy. It's all the same style of energy. So the evil inclination seems like a bad thing. It's trying to bring human beings down. Every time we want to do something good, or I say every, I don't want to be over dramatic, but like there's a part within us then, and everyone knows their own evil inclination that, tries to pull us into, negative stuff. And like, why is that so annoying? God created that. Why? Not for a negative purpose, for a positive purpose, for us to push against. Satan is the energy that kind of, argues against us before God and says, hey, look at what the person did, X, Y, or Z. Again, part of the God squad created to provide that negative balance, as it were. If there was not a Yetzer Hara or a Satan or the angel of death, then there wouldn't be the balance on the positive either. It would be too much good, too much light. It would be too easy, and the whole system would fall apart. Now, I want to ask a question, and the question that I want to ask is the question that has been raised consistently this morning, which is, what were the angels thinking? Not so much how did the angels think, although that is a valid question, as I just explained. It's a legit question. But what were the angels thinking? They wanted to block Torah from being given. So there are many answers given. Like, they didn't read the 10 Commandments. Like, if they knew Torah, did they not know what was written in it? Now you could say, well, maybe they had no idea. Maybe they never had studied Torah. Maybe they didn't know what was inside. They just knew that it was this tremendous gift and they wanted it. And then that's why Moses says, well, God, what does it say? And then once God says what it says, the angels are like, oof, actually, you're right. Maybe it's not for us. I mean, that could be a simplistic way of reading it. I don't necessarily read it like that, yeah?
That also brings up the famous midrash that says that when Hashem wanted to give the Torah, he went to all the other nations.
Right.
He went to the other nations and he said to them, you ever prisoners in Egypt? I mean, like, what is it? Like, how does the midrash even work?
The whole thing doesn't make sense. Good. Let's leave that one aside, because I don't know the answer, but that might be a longer conversation. But there are many answers to this question of what the angels were thinking. One answer is actually pretty interesting. And it's based on a halachic ruling. I actually have it here. I pulled it up. Mishnah Torah. You know what? I'm not going to read it. We've already read a lot of text inside. Okay, so I'm just going to give it to you outside. So it goes like this. There's Hilchot Shchenim, in the laws of neighbors. This comes from the Talmud, articulated in Rambam, Maimonides, and then in the Code of Jewish Law. So all the way through, this is very consistent. And the consistent law is as follows. If you have, let's say you own a field, and it's next, well, I guess you have neighbors that also own fields. And now you're ready to sell your field. So the law is that you must give your neighbor, or maybe neighbors, the right of first refusal. You have to first offer to sell to them. If they say they don't want it, then you can sell it to a third party that is not a neighbor. But if you sell it to a non-neighbor and you didn't tell your neighbors that you were selling, you didn't give that notice and give that opportunity, and then they come and say, 1 second, you didn't tell us you were selling your field. You just up and sold your field. What's up with that? They have the legal halachic, Jewish law says, they have the right to reverse the sale and get the field. Obviously, they have to pay the money. You can't just get it for free. They have to pay the money. But after paying the money, they can actually, so they would pay, I guess, the lokech, the purchaser. They would give the purchaser back the money, and they would get the rights to the field. You guys with me? This is true everywhere, not only in Israel. This is a law regarding property, and it's based on a biblical verse, V'asita hayashar v'hatov. There's a verse that says you should do what's just and good, what's right and good. Do the right thing. This is a very general commandment. Do the right thing, right? Remember the 80s? Just say no. I don't know why I'm thumbs upping as I say just say no. But Right? Yuvasita hayashar v'atov. Do what's yashar means straightforward, like the upright, and tov, and the good thing. And part of that is if you have a field, you got to offer to your neighbors first. Now, why is that yashar v'tov? A very simple answer. Because as advantageous as it is to anyone to buy property, it's always good to buy land and property. It's even better for the neighbor. Why is it better for the neighbor? Because now you have a longer piece of continuous, right, land. You have a longer piece. It's advantageous to the neighbor. You with me on this?
So does that apply also to house or only a field?
It applies to property.
Fine.
I thought it couldn't be sold.
What if you're just in a cul-de-sac and you have many
sure.
houses and the neighbor is selling the house, because they need to come to both his side neighbors and say, hey, you guys want to buy me out before I put it in the market?
Based on Jewish law, you might have to.
Because he doesn't understand, you know.
Huh?
So,
In Toga, they do that? Yeah. Based on halacha, you're supposed to. You should. You should let the neighbors know, FYI. But nowadays, one could argue that when you list it, everybody knows about it. As long as they know about it and have the opportunity to buy it, it's fine. The only problem is if you sold it and didn't notify, that's a problem. I don't think you have to actually make a special appeal to your neighbors. By the way, I don't think it has to be before anyone else knows. It just has to be public enough that if they wanted to, they have the opportunity. You can't do a private sale, kind of surprise sale and cut out the neighbors. That would be anti-vasita hayashar v'atov. That happens a lot, yeah.
That has nothing to do with like the way that the land was originally set up in Israel, where all the families shared the similar property within the tribes.
No, I think Yaakov was asking that also. No, that's not necessarily part of the tribal inheritance of keeping in the family. That would also be, that's a separate thing. This is literally, again, based on the verse. It's not about ancestral land, or it's not based on the heritage in Israel. This is based on the verse, Vasita hayashar v'atov. It's a very, I don't know what the right word is, not pragmatic, but it's a very, maybe pragmatic. It's a very utilitarian law. It's very much about, practically speaking, if somebody can now expand their property, whether it's a field or a house, right? It's worth more to them than it is for someone, for a third party to come in. I mean, land is always good, but imagine having a double lot. That's even better. You can't get a double. You can get a single lot anywhere. You can't get a double lot anywhere. I mean, I guess you could if you buy two lots, but I mean, like, right? It's harder. Yeah. So anyway, so that's
depends on the talk,
right.
And, like in Toko for family, like I've seen,
families will buy next door.
Being able to move next door.
Oh, so family can move in next door. You can expand. Okay, good. Now, this is known in halacha. I'm going to use this word. It sounds like another word that we all know. This is bar metzra, not bar mitzvah. That's something else. Bar metzra. Metzra is the meitzar, the neighbor or the boundary. But it's Aramaic, so it's metzra with an aleph at the end. And bar is the owner of, right, or the one who has possession of, like bar mitzvah. So bar metzra means the neighbor. So it's the neighbor's rights. It's the laws of neighbor's rights. The neighbor has the right of first refusal. And if the neighbor was cut out of the conversation, didn't know about it, again, the neighbor can reverse the sale. So some commentaries say this is what's going on with the angels. The angels said, where is Torah located? Torah is located in heaven. And where do we live, the angels? We live in heaven. They said, we are the bar metzra. We're the neighbor. We're the local neighbor. So how can you sell Torah to humans before you offer it to us? We have the right of first refusal, and we say, we want it. We'll take it. If you're selling it, we're going to buy it. So their opposition was not so much based on emotional arguments or whatever. It was based on a very legal argument. We are the neighbor. We are the local, it's a local item. We should have right of first refusal, yeah.
It's not a sale, it's a gift.
Oh, one second. So this, good. That's one of the answers given. So again, according to some, it's a very creative understanding. Very creative.
You want to give the house next door to somebody else? How can the neighbor come?
Right.
I didn't sell it, I gifted it.
Right.
But for the one who's upset, I think it's even the.
I'm still waiting for all of my neighbors to do that.
Okay, so again, we're gonna get there in a second, but let's break this down one step at a time. So the angels try to block the Torah from coming below, and the question is on what grounds? And one answer that some commentators, creative commentators, give is that it's a legal attempt to block it based on the legal principle of bar metzra. The neighbor has the right of first refusal, and since angels and Torah are neighbors, so therefore the angels should have the right of first refusal. How can you sell it to human beings that don't even live here? It's got to go first to heaven. Okay, good. There are a number of answers given as to why the angels' claim is invalid, meaning the angels might have claimed that, but there are many reasons as to why that doesn't work. First of all, the law of bar metzra only applies to land and not karka, land, it's the Aramaic, and not metaltalin, and not movable property. So for example, if you're selling your, I don't know, your Insta360 Link AI-powered 4K webcam.
How much is that? How much?
Every angel is one of those.
A few $100. Yeah.
Huh? How much is it?
How much does this cost?
Yeah.
Like $200, 250, something like that. Yeah, because it could swivel. Well, it's not right now, but it could. And it's AI powered, which means who knows? They put those letters on it. So imagine if somebody says, hey, I'm selling, right? You have to go to your neighbor when you're selling a webcam? No, you don't. Because the only benefit is when it comes to land that you can, real estate, you can't get land next to you. You can't get land next to you from anywhere else. It's only the land next to you. But you can get this from anywhere. You don't have, so you with me on this? The law of bar metzra only applies to land and not to other items. So Torah is not land. And how do we see this? Because Torah actually went down to earth. So obviously Torah is not land. So if Torah is not land, then the whole argument, the whole bar metzra doesn't even apply. So that's one answer. Second answer. Bar metzra is, that's it. Bar metzra only applies to sale, not to gift. Why? Let's understand the rationale. If somebody says, I have a good friend that want to give a piece of land. What's the neighbor saying? No, you have to give it to me because I live next door. No, you have to give it to me. I'm the next door neighbor. Don't you love me? Remember I brought you over that cake when you moved in or whatever it is? Come on. The fruit cake 10 years ago? Obviously not.
The cup of sugar.
The cup of sugar, right? A cup of eggs that are at a huge premium now.
By way, remember your name.
Right. Yeah. Remember the lawnmower yours was what it's meshuggah. It's outlandish to think, it's outrageous to think that the neighbor could block a gift. A sale, the neighbor could say, how much money are you selling it for? $100,000? I'm going to give the identical $100,000. If you want $100,000, why did you take their money and not my money? I live next door. For me, it's not just $100,000. It's not just it's me being able to expand my property. So it's advantageous. And so Torah halacha says, indeed, do what's right and good. But when it comes to a gift, you can't force someone to give you a gift. That's not how that works. You give a gift to the one that you want to give a gift to, and they may not live next door, and that's fine. So Torah is not a sale, it's a gift. What do we pay for Torah? How much did Torah cost? What did Moses come up? He came up with a few shekels? Torah is a matana. Torah tziva lanu Moshe, Marasha Gilat Yaakov, which is not a verse that speaks to matana, but whatever. Matan Torah, we call it. There we go. That's a better phrase. Matan Torah is the day that we got the gift of Torah. Asher natan lanu et Torah, or whatever we say, the blessing before we read the Torah. God, you gave us the Torah. It's a gift. All right. So that's the second answer. So bar metzra falls apart. So we have two answers for it. Number one, it's not land. This whole thing applies to land. Number two, it wasn't a sale. It's a gift. Number three, the rule only applies if the seller sold the land to a third party. But what if they're selling to family? If you sell to family, the neighbor doesn't override family. You with me on that? If you sell, like you mentioned, if you sell to your kid who lives right now in New Jersey.
It was the neighbor asked the neighbor first, and
because they wanted it for them.
The daughter of the neighbor was asked.
Got it. But I'm saying in the theoretical situation, let's say, Mr. Cohen is selling his house. Mr. Cohen is moving to Florida from Atlanta, selling his house. But Mr. Cohen and Mrs. Cohen, they have a child that lives in New Jersey. And you know what? And the kids want to move to Atlanta. So they want to sell to their kid. Can the neighbor, Mr. Greenberg, block the sale? Of course not. You're allowed to sell to your family. The neighbor, you should do what's just and good and allow the neighbor to expand. Yeah, but you know what else is good? To give your kid the opportunity to buy a house. So that overrides the neighbor's consideration. And since the Jewish people are considered God's children, right? Banim atem l'Hashem Elokechem, you are the sons of God, the children of God. Therefore, they have a precedence over the angels. Okay. Another answer. So we have 3 answers so far. Number 1, it's not land. Number 2, it's not a sale. Number 3, we're God's children. The neighbor doesn't override the child. Number 4, fourth answer. Nah. Angel. This is God's squad. They're not children. Now, 4th answer is that the angels only wanted part of Torah. The angels only can study the Kabbalah, the mystical side.
I was like, I can see why they wanted Torah, but it would
Right.
have been for that.
But it's only one of 4 layers. Torah has 4 layers: Pshat, Remez, Drush, and Sod. The simple, the allegorical, the homiletical, and then the mystical. They only wanted the mystical because that's the only part they can relate to, right? So they didn't want the whole thing. They only wanted a quarter of it, whereas we would use all of it because we study all 4 parts, because we also have the practical implementation of the Torah. We can also practically, keep Shabbat and, not steal and all that stuff, as Moses said. But they would only have 1/4. And the law is that if the neighbor only wants to buy part of the field, there's or the land, I don't actually want to buy the whole thing. I just want to buy like a little bit next to me. But then you have a buyer that's willing to buy the whole thing. You don't have to not sell you don't have to not get the full amount for the neighbor's quarter. The neighbor, if you want to buy the whole thing, if it's apples to apples, fine. Hey, yeah, absolutely. If it's apples to apples, good to see you. If it's apples to apples, fine. But if it's not apples to apples, if you only want to get, if the neighbor only wants a piece of it, we say the neighbor. I mean, listen, it's all or nothing here. The 5th answer is we're going to leave it across the 5th answer. Okay, so we have 4 answers. Number 1, it's not land. This rule only applies to land, to real estate. It doesn't apply to items. And Torah is an object, item. Number 2, it doesn't apply when it's a gift. It's not a sale, it's a gift. Number 3, doesn't apply when it's to a child. Neighbor can't override a child. And number 4, it doesn't apply when it's not the whole thing. If the neighbor only wants a piece of it, no, don't sell. I want a piece of it. I'm not selling a piece of it. I'm selling the whole thing. You want the whole thing? No. So then you're out of consideration. You can't block a sale if you only want a piece of it. Okay. The problem with all of this is that all of these are great answers. The problem is we don't see that in Moses' words to the angels. He doesn't really say that. So we need to therefore reimagine this from a place that would make sense with the words that Moses uses. And there's one more, and we'll call this the 5th answer. There's one more angle on this that is relevant, and it will be the overriding consideration and fits into what Moses actually said to the angels. And we'll see why it was an aha moment for the angels. There's one more rule or exception to the rule of Bar Mitzvah. If the neighbor wants to use the land as a field, you asked about a field versus a house. I was kind of saving it for now. If the neighbor has a field next door and wants to use this as a bigger field, okay, sounds like a valid reason. But if the 3rd party purchaser wants to build a house on it to live, that overrides the neighbor's bigger field. If the purchaser doesn't have a house and needs to buy a house to live, living on the land actually supersedes having a bigger farm. So if the other guy's going to put a house on it, even though for the neighbor it's advantageous, but for this person, it's for living.
So moving into supersedes moving on to.
Very good. Very good. So now, where does this leave us?
Never know how these.
No, it's perfect. It's great. So where does this leave us? So what is the real function of Torah? The real function of Torah is it allows us to make a home for God on earth, to create a space, to create a home, a dirah, lo yitbarach b'tachtonim, a house, a dwelling place for God below in this world. Moses said to the angels, look, you guys are going to use the Torah for spiritual purposes, for more fields, for more beauty, for more light. But we have a different agenda here below. Our agenda with Torah is in order to create a home for God on earth. God is already at home in heaven. He doesn't need another house in heaven. All right, that's just going to be more field. It's going to be more land. And yes, there is a nice thing to have more land. But what's even more critical is when it comes to building a home in a place where you have no home. God has no home on earth. Torah is what allows us to build that home for God on earth. And that's what Moses says to the angels. He says, what does it say? Right? I literally took you out of Egypt, the house of bondage. Great. Were you in Egypt? No. Meaning you don't have the challenges, the physical challenges that human beings have, which therefore allows us to create that space for God within the space of the challenge. Because the real meaning of building a home for God is precisely in a place where he's not already obviously at home. Now, God is everywhere. We know that, essentially. But God is not obviously everywhere, meaning we don't see God everywhere. And where don't we see God? In the spaces in which there is in Egypt, in which there is slavery, in which there is oppression, in which there's a Yetzer Hara, in which there's an evil inclination, in which there's murder and theft and immorality, etc. It's in those spaces that we need Torah's guidance to create that space, to create a home for God. And so Moses says to the angels, for you, it's a luxury. For us, it's an essential home. It's like the pig and the chicken. They were walking down the street one day and they saw a breakfast place that was advertising bacon and eggs. And the chicken says to the pig, we're famous. Everyone loves us. Everyone loves us. Bacon and eggs. Look, me and you. We're the dynamic duo. We should take this on the road. And the pig says to the chicken, how easy for you to say. For you, it's a donation. For me, it's a commitment. Right? For you, it's a donation. For me, it's a commitment. Yeah, that bacon doesn't come without a cost. The point is, for the angels, it would be icing on the cake. Be nice. It'd be nice to have Torah in heaven. But it's not necessary. It's not essential. They don't need it. They don't need it for a home for God. God's already at home. Who needs it to build a home? We need it to build a home. And that's really what Moses, on the deepest of levels, what Moses was telling the angels, and really the message that ties into our text. And we're going to learn inside. Can you imagine? For the first time in months, no, kidding. First time in a little while, we're going to be learning inside. So this takes us into today's conversation about the purpose of life, and really the purpose of life in creating a space for God. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to pull up chapter 6 of The Power of Return, or as we've been calling it, Know Your Soul. Yeah, it should be right there. Yeah, I think the copies that I have are just chapter 6, so that's great. This is the last chapter of the book, so we're coming to the conclusion. We're probably going to do half today, and then we'll finish off next week, and then I'll announce next week the new text that we'll be learning. A little summer Kabbalah Café. So here we go. Without further ado, chapter 6, Creating with Judgment. So now that we understand, kind of the purpose of existence and the purpose of Torah to create a home for God on earth, and that implies that life is a little bit messy, that we can then strive to clean it up and create this home. So now we can also put together the pieces of an ancient midrash. Here we go. Now the statement of Midrash Rabbah will be understood. At first, God thought to create the world with the attribute of judgment. Right? First, God wanted to create the world with midat hadin, judgment, and that sounds kind of harsh. And indeed, the attribute of judgment is kind of harsh. Although he is the source of mercy, and why wouldn't he want to do that? He nonetheless thought to create the world specifically with the attribute of judgment. And the question, as implied here, is why? Why would a good God, why would a loving God, why would a kind God want to lead with judgment? So he says, here we go, to explain. As is known, the ultimate purpose in creating the world was because the Holy One, blessed be He, desired to have an abode in the lower realms, as I just explained, right? We just went through this whole thing this morning. God wants more than anything else. God wants to be at home on earth. In heaven, He created a space that's already hospitable to Himself. That's already, He made Himself a home. He wants us to make Him a home. That's the one thing He can't make. He can't make us make Him a home, because then He's making His own home. He wants us to choose to build Him a home. That has to come through a space that's not a home, and a person that's not automatically a robot that will do it, to then choose to do it. There's no chidush, there's no novelty if it had to be. The only novelty is if it didn't have to be. So you take a person who could do any number of things. You take a world that can look any sort of way, and the person creates a space, carves out in the world a home for God. God says, wow, now I have nachat. Now that feels good. That feels good. When God creates His own space, how good does that feel? God made His own heaven. God made His own home. Sure, that was easy. For us to make it, that's a little bit more exciting.
That really connected something for me, because it kind of looped the previous thing you had said, where we explained that we use all these levels and all this other stuff. It kind of loops back to the original argument, which is like the angle is, why are you so obsessed with these humans? Like, what is
right.
with these humans? And it's beautiful to see that the all God desires to have a home. He desires to know what it's like to be, and like that's very beautiful.
And it's really a beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. It's really a beautiful midrash. This comes from the midrash also. It's a beautiful midrashic teaching, and it's quoted in Kabbalah and Chabad Hasidut like extensively, like as the ultimate reason for why we're here. God could have created, and He did create spaces in which it's all divine, it's all holy, it's all. He has that. That's not that exciting. What's exciting is when something that shouldn't happen happens. I mean, in a good way, right? When a human being of flesh and blood with a yetzer hara, with an evil inclination, with all the challenges, with the jealousy, with the kinna, and all the stuff that Moses mentioned, and Egypt, and all this stuff, still chooses to fight against the darkness and create light. Now that's something. In the other places in Chassidut, in Kabbalah, I use the example of a king who has a parrot. And he gets excited about the parrot who talks, the talking bird, right? Tzipor hamedaberet. I'm assuming it's a parrot, parakeet, whatever it is, right? Why is that exciting? Why do you smile when a bird? Why do you smile? Because you don't expect, it shouldn't happen. Birds should not speak. When a person talks, we usually fall asleep, right? When a person talks, it's not that exciting. Person's like, oh, blah, 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 blah. When a parrot talks, everyone's, whoa, that bird's talking. It's like when heaven is light, when heaven shines, it's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Of course, heaven. What else is it going to do? When earth shines, wow. You guys see that? You guys see the talking bird? I know what I'm implying. We all are the God's novelty item. We're the talking bird. But that's kind of what it is. God wanted I see like a trail of kids flying. Oh, yeah. Hopefully Shai has a, oh no, helmets on. Keep the helmets on. Keep the helmets on. Safety first. All right. Well, it's not like we have all this recorded with the hard evidence. I'm kidding. But anyway, back to the story. So God has heaven. He has the light places already. There's no chidush. There's no hitchachut over there. No one's doing anything new. Moses says to the angels, look, you want to have Torah, all you're going to have is another field. What we're going to do is we're going to make something new. We're going to build a house. Building a house, creating a home, that's something novel. That's something new. That's something exciting. That's what we should get. He's like, and therefore, I conclude, we should therefore receive the Torah. And that was the clincher. That was the winning argument. Because that's what God wanted. Let's continue inside third line, second paragraph, i.e., He desired that the essence of Ein Sof, meaning God's core truth, be elicited and manifest below. This is achieved. Now, how does this happen? As we know, of course we know this. This is achieved through the descent of the godly soul into a body and an animal soul. In other words, you can't have a home in the lowest realms without the soul coming into the lowest realms. You can't create a home in the lowest realm remotely. That doesn't work. It's not like a robotic. It's got to be from and within the lowest domain, and it's also through the subsequent service of God. Sorry, of loving God, not of God, of loving God with all your might, which is a yearning for God that transcends all reason and understanding, in the service of teshuvah, which elicits the revelation of His blessed essence into the Torah and mitzvot that follow as explained above. Meaning, hold on, let's before we lose the train of thought over here. What he's saying is that it's precisely the soul coming into a body and facing the challenges of the body, of the animal soul. It's precisely that experience that allows the soul, or that generates a feeling of, I need something deeper. I need something better. I need to create space for God. I need to, on my own, find God and bring God into my life, into my world. I need to do this. And that is the energy that's generated, the self-generated energy that's born of the darkness itself. And that's the idea of tshuva. Tshuva is the rebound. When does tshuva happen? When you fall in the dark side, when you fall in the negative place, you rebound with tshuva. And he's saying that's how we create a home for God in the lower realms, not even lower. The tachtonim doesn't mean lower, it means the lowest. I would modify that translation. It's not in the lower realms, it's the lowest realms. In fact, as the Alter Rebbe writes in Tanya, I think chapter 36 to 37, he says that this means not just a lowly realm, but a realm that it's not possible to be any lower. It's not possible to reach any lower than our reality. Whatever you can imagine, the lowest of the low has been done, has been here. The worst of the worst, humans have figured out. We've gone to the depths of depravity, and if we can still, despite that, or maybe because of that, if we can still generate space for God, generate light, that's something worth accomplishing. That's something that the Torah, that's worth the journey of Torah, that's worth the journey of the soul below. That's all worth it. If not for that, it wouldn't be worth it. That's the implication. If not for that, keep the soul in heaven. You want to put the soul, you want to just for no reason put the soul in a horrific place, in a traumatic place. You want to take a pure soul and put it into a coarse body? Why? It's horrific. Kabbalah speaks about, in the courses that we've done on afterlife, we've talked about reincarnation, and it says that if things go a little sideways with the soul, it can come back in a non-human form, in a non-human guf, like in the body of an animal or in a plant or in a rock or something like that, mineral, vegetable, or animal life. And it's tremendously painful for the soul. Imagine a human soul that can't express itself. I mean, you think about, God forbid, people that have, certain conditions and their mind is functioning 100%, but the body doesn't work. The body doesn't move, right? ALS, for example, like everything, the mind is fully functioning, but the body, they're imprisoned in a body. You think about the soul like that. Imagine a human soul stuck in a plant. Rabbi Yitzhak, yeah. Huh? I'm thinking, right? But like, imagine how pain, and of course he's got support and love and everything. But imagine, what's it called again? Imagine and imagine every soul in a body. It's all the same thing. In a human body, it's what you think it's worse in a stone. But imagine even in a human body, you took a pure soul that loves the Abish, that loves God, and you put into a body that loves cheesecake. I mean, now what? Now what are you supposed to do? Like, how? What am I doing with this ball and chain the whole day, schlepping it around? Let's do something positive. Let's sleep in. I mean, the whole day you're navigating this, you're schlepping around this thing. The only justification is that it's because of that, not despite that, because of the body, because of the animal soul, because of the darkness, and because of the mistakes, that you can rebound and create something beautiful that God himself couldn't create. And I know that's a radical thing to say, but God can't create the rebounding light. He can't. If he created it, it wouldn't be the rebounding light. It wouldn't be the tshuva. You can't create it. It has to come from us, from below to above. It can come from above to below, because the very definition of this light is the light that we've generated because of the darkness, through the darkness, despite the darkness, after failing. That's the only definition of this light. God can't create that. If he created it, it's not born of darkness, born of God.
So 2 questions. One, if God already knows the outcome of this experiment, is it really, how much does God actually achieve through our kind of robotic response to stimuli, things like that, because we're kind of still programmed.
But we have free choice. Despite the programming, we have free choice, which means that even if God knows, assuming that God knows the end, then in the end, it's all going to work out. Meaning it's like, it's all going to, at the end, he's going to have his home here below.
Yeah.
Who's going to do it? How's it going to get done? What mistakes will they have made beforehand? Now, God could know that because maybe he sees that, but does God make that happen? I don't know. That seems to be under the umbrella of free choice.
And, well, two more questions. If God doesn't change, what is happening here? And then the other thing is, since the rocks and plants come from a higher source than we do, would they still have an awareness of God? Obviously, they don't debate whether there's a God or not, but do they really know? I mean, are the plants always praising God with their branches and accepting the praise?
It seems like, to answer the last question, the middle question is a more difficult question, but to answer the last question, it seems like the other forms of nature are intuitively plugged in, but don't necessarily have the same level of conscious awareness. So that's why the consciously aware human soul in a plant that doesn't necessarily have that ability to express the conscious awareness, doesn't have like a physical brain and an intellectual mind to process that, it would be very frustrating. Even though, not to diminish the natural intuition of nature moves with the rhythm of the divine perfectly, without any interruption. Humans don't, but we can also process. I mean, it's a double-edged sword because we can process, so we can sometimes go, awry. But the middle question is a difficult question. All right, let's go another paragraph or two. Okay, here we go. Now, as was already elucidated above in previous chapters, such exalted divine service. So we're on page 98, third paragraph. Such exalted divine service can only be attained through the left arm, which means a little bit of harshness. You gotta hit the wall before you rebound. Therefore, God at first thought to create the world solely with the attribute of judgment, as divine service would then have been carried out in this mode, engaging the very essence of being of the soul. In other words, there's nothing better for the soul than a little bit of resistance, as we've been saying. Like what brings out the best of the soul? As Moses said to the angels, Klum kina yesh beneim, klum yetzahara yesh, or whatever the expression is, right? Do you have, here, that's done. There you go. Do you have jealousy? Do you have a yetzahara? It's not just that we need Torah to combat it. It's that these things actually bring out, in the flips, when things correct and adjust, it brings out the depths of the soul because of the darkness. Accordingly, as divine service will then be carried in this mode, engage the various of the soul. Okay, right. Accordingly, this is the epitome of goodness, meaning the judgment, midat hadin. Since the intent of the judgment is to bring one to a much greater level of spiritual service. It's not necessarily different than someone. Okay, here's a simple example. It's like, imagine you're in football practice, training camp. I think it's starting soon. Aaron Rodgers is apparently a Pittsburgh Steelers. Not that I'm a Pittsburgh fan, I am. But like, okay, here we go. So imagine like this training camp. You ever see the football players? They like, the linemen at least, they run and they have this metal things and they have to push, right? They have to try to push this huge metal. What, you don't like them? You hate them? You're torturing them? You have to ask the coach, what are you doing? These are nice people. Why are you making them work so hard? Because without resistance, the strength is not going to come out. That's the way life works. If you don't put resistance, you're not going to uncover the great. I can lift. Imagine someone says, I can lift, what's like 200 pounds? I don't know, 200 pounds. Is that ambitious, 200 pounds?
Depending.
Okay. Let's say I can lift 200 pounds, but guess what?
I mean, 200 pounds is a good amount of weight.
It's a good amount of weight. Let's say someone says, I'm so strong I can lift 200 pounds. But guess what? If the only thing around them is a cup, they'll never engage that ability. You cannot engage the strength required to lift 200 pounds without 200 pounds of resistance. It just, you can't, like, and you can make sounds and faces, but you're not actually engaging the muscles without the resistance. You can't engage the soul without the resistance. So God says, great, let me give them some resistance. Let me give them a little midat hadin resistance also, a little bit judgment, right? A little bit tough love. That's going to be the judgment that makes them rise to the occasion. Let's continue. Accordingly, I think I already read this now. Accordingly, this is the epitome of goodness, since the intent is to bring out a much greater level of spiritual service. Yeah, for spiritual service that is based on the right arm that draws close, right? Love and sprinkles involves only the external facet and glimmer of the soul, right? If it's all about love, you're not really going to engage the soul. If it's a cup, you're not engaging the 200 pounds of strength that you have. And in turn, elicits from on high a revelation of a mere glimmer of godliness. This is but a stationary mode of divine service, i.e. there's no growth here. Spiritual service, page 100 even, that is based on the left arm, however, engages the soul's essence and thereby elicits the very essence of the Ein Sof. So when it's tough and you have to engage in the core of your soul, you then engage the core of God, and you've engaged depth to depth. This fulfills the divine intention of why the souls of Israel are called cup. It is through the cup that the owner of the cup drinks. In our context, this refers to the fact that the souls of Israel elicit additional light into Torah due to the eminence of their souls, as explained earlier. This is accomplished by the spiritual service that involves the head and essence of the soul, through which the essence of the blessed Ein Sof is elicited. He's basically saying there is the Midrash likens us to cups. What's the meaning of a cup? A cup is not just a recipient. In here is a little bit of green tea. So it received green tea from the hot water thing, but it also is a giver. It just gave me a sip of cold green tea. So, right, so this is a receiver and a giver. So we receive divine energy, but we're also contributing. Contributing how? Through our service, through the work that we do. That's a contribution. And attaining this level of service, which involves the soul's essence, and that's our contribution, requires the attribute of gevura, as explained above. And that's why God wanted to create the world with gevura, a little bit of tough love, a little bit of force, not because he doesn't like us. You would never say that the head, well, you might say, but it might not be true. The head coach hates the players because he's making them lift weights. He hates them. Does he hate them, or he wants to bring out the best? I think he wants to bring out the best. Same thing is true with God. God wanted to create the world with some pressure in order to bring out the best, with expectations, with demands, saying, here's the pressure, you got to show up. Like, okay, let's go. It's like rounds. And the king of service you're running for reason understanding by one's entire with this earlier, the very level of divine service would be this lofty level. Now, next week, I'm going to preview this and hopefully not destroy the final conclusion, the final ending. But he'll basically say, as I destroy the ending, he'll basically say that had that happened, first of all, it would be very tough because God's not just a head coach. Because the head coach eventually says, okay, guys, you can have a cup of water. God, if it was only gevura, it would have been pushed all the way. Number one. Number two, if this becomes the norm, then where do you grow? It's almost like you need a lower baseline to then be able to expand into the level of tshuva. So that's kind of like how that works. We'll expand on that more next.
Is this sort of like the grading level between the Bashar and the Sod?
So Midrash is really the third level, the Drush. Yes, you have Sod, which is the secrets, it's the highest level, and then Midrash is right below it.
I can study Midrash on Safari or one.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's all in English though. I don't know if it's translated. Midrash, I mean, there are translations. I mean, look, you'll find, but there's different midrashim on the different books of the Torah. So there's one for each of the book, and it's called sometimes different things. Hey, you'll look it up.
It definitely seems to kind of like bridge that gap and kind of make it easier to understand.
Yeah. All right, so let's I'm just looking at the chat. When can we access the recording of this class? It's all on SoundCloud. Take a look for the Torah Center ATL on SoundCloud or on Spotify. The podcast is called Torah Unraveled. So look over there and you'll get it. So in summary, in summation, what we did today is we explored the Midrash that tells us about the drama at Sinai, showdown at Sinai, where the angels try to block the Torah, and Moses responded. And essentially, we said that it all goes back to a neighbor dispute, a dispute about who gets the rights of the Torah. And Moses ultimately triumphs because he tells the angels, we needed to build a house. We have to build a house for God, and that overrides any other field, wheat, corn, right, whatever, I don't know, whatever. Considerations, this is now way more important. And we said that how do we build a home for God? It's not despite, our lowly reality. It's because of the lowly reality. Because of that, it brings out the love, it brings out the darkness, brings out the greater light. And that encourages us to create that home, which is the very purpose of existence, which is the reason why we got Torah in the first place. And that lifts Torah up to its highest level because we're fulfilling the purpose for why it was given below in the first place. So this week, homework is find motivation. If it's easy motivation, that's great. But find motivation sometimes from the hard places, from the difficult places, from the challenges. Turn the challenges into opportunities. Turn the darkness into light. And may indeed it forever only shine. Let us say amen. All right, thank you for joining me. Good stuff. Don't forget, we've announced already, done a soft announcement. Emails coming out in the next few days. Shabbaton, the weekend in Camp Ramah Darom. Weekend in the mountains, Clayton, Georgia. Gorgeous campsite. The weekend is going to be October 31st through November 2nd. Save the dates and join us. Get a cabin. They have hotel style rooms, whatever is your preference. 3 days, 2 nights in nature, gorgeous lake. Has anybody been to Ramah? You've been to Ramah? No? It's gorgeous. Yeah, Limud, right, exactly. Limud is there. It's a beautiful venue. We're going to have a few Chabads teaming together, workshops and classes and tefillah and meditation and a full program for the kids. So we'll have their own separate program. Camp, good food. Rabbi is telling semi-humorous jokes. It's going to be amazing. So that's all going down. It's about 2 weeks after the Chagim, 2 weeks after Simchat Torah. It's fall, so it's going to be beautiful. Good weather. Hey, Mariana, good to see you. Hey. So it's going to be amazing. So save the date. We have, what is this now? June, July, August, September, October. So you have now almost 5 months. Save the date. An email will go out this week. Please God. You can, kind of like pencil yourself in for it. And it's going to be a beautiful thing.
But if we don't get to learn tomorrow.
Yeah, let's wish Oded safe travels. Oded is going to the Holy Land. Yeah, going to the Holy Land. 1 second, let's do a hug. Let's do a hug before you go. I'm so happy that you made it today. Thank you for making today. I know there's a lot of prep before taking the whole family.
We'll try to hook up, or the Zoom, but we'll see.
So I'll mention because Sivan, Oded's daughter, who's been to classes, so she already made Aliyah. She moved to about 2 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago. And no, that's all part of the plan.
She's gonna have to show me around. She's the native now.
So now Odette is going with the family. And everyone's gonna be there.
Everybody's gonna be
Everyone's
there. Parents are there, everybody's gonna
Wow.
be there. Yeah.
That's it.
That'd be nice.
Enjoy. Okay, so let me know about tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll be in touch. Anyway, Shavuot Tov, everybody.
Shavuot Tov, be well.
Linda and Boaz are there.
Oh, nice. So nice. I have another friend who's leaving today via Rome, going Rome and then Israel.
Yeah, that's what Spain.
Beautiful.
Linda
Yeah.
from Decatur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
You know Linda?
Yeah.
And her fiance, yeah.
To Roman and
Oh, yeah.
Mariana, great to see you.
I've heard.
How's the family? Everyone's good?
I heard. Didn't hear that.
Yes, we're in New York now.
Oh, very nice.
Very
Very
close.
nice.
Yeah.
That's so
I
nice.
was thinking that to leave you, but everybody's here and yeah. Say
I'll have
and
to visit
yeah,
you guys like last year. Remember we met up in Manhattan? That was fun.
Thank
All
you for
right.
the beautiful class.
My pleasure. Good to see you. Good to see you. My best to everybody. Please send my love. Tom, great to see you.
Good to see you.
Eva, good to see you. Tony, good to see you. Caroline, good to see you. And Dr. Maxey. You guys are in the same on my
Yeah,
screen.
Caroline and I are sitting about a mile and a half apart from one another.
And we studied for Erev Shavuot together and ate
Yeah.
cheesecake.
So nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
That's
really
so
great.
nice.
Yeah,
That's
she's
really
brilliant. I need to learn from her. She can give some of the classes if you ever need a
Dr.
break.
Absolutely. Yes. Good stuff. Great to see you guys. Shavua Tov, everyone. Lots of blessings.
Tov.
See you very soon. Take care, everybody.